So, guten Tag. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Thank you for your interest in the 2022 summer internship program in Germany. Super excited if it gets off the ground next year, which we all have our fingers crossed that it will. 2 years of COVID was a lot to handle. So I know for some of you who you intended to go to Germany last year or even the year before. So hopefully 22 is going to be our opportunity. But we'll keep you fully informed of the latest on COVID. And this year we did virtual internships for students. And that was interesting. They liked the experience overall. But of course, it doesn't replace physically going to Germany and working for a German company and having the cultural experience as well. All right, so today's meeting, I'm going to talk about the what, who in terms of eligibility in the program. Some dates when the program starts and ends and things that you need to know beforehand, before you go, costs and financing. I'll talk about the language school phase, and this is where my former student interns who did the program in the last few years can be of assistance. Also, they'll tell you what it was like doing an internship in Germany. So that's point 6, the internship phase. They'll also help, I'm sure, saying why you should do this program. And then most importantly, the final steps, the next steps, registering with the Center of International Education and getting on their TRM system. So my colleague Stephanie Clark is here to address all of those. Yeah, I want to talk as little as possible and sort of turn things over to the former interns. I saw two, Alexi being one of them, and Jeff was our very first intern back in 2002, Jeff. Was it that long ago?
2003
at the latest. Wow. Okay.
Because I
anyway,
went back.
We've been doing the program for 20 years with
frightening.
yeah, with the two exceptions in COVID. So Jeff is he's the guinea pig, so to speak. And he'll talk about his placement maybe a little bit later. All right, COVID disclaimer, you could read here. So what's the program? It's 1 month of intensive language training at the CDC Sprachenzentrum in Berlin, followed by a 2-month internship in your field of study. So,
sorry, here, Dale, are you supposed to be sharing your screen?
Yes, I am.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay, let me try that again. There we go. Can you see it now?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, cool. So, hey, Alexi. All right, so today's meeting, right? You could read that. I just went through that. COVID disclaimer is here. What it is, 1 month of intensive language training at the CDC Sprachenzentrum in Berlin, followed by a 2-month internship in your field of study. We've placed over 130 students in the last 20 years in every conceivable major at the College of Charleston in some capacity. German work authorization requires that it's relevant to your field of study. And then you do a 2-month internship. All right, requirements. Our program is a little bit different than some of the others at CofC. You can't be a resident or a citizen of the Federal Republic of Germany. If for some chance you are, then just use your American citizenship. You have to have 2 years German study. That's for the internship. You have to be somewhat productive in your internship role. And also you have to have 4 semesters of the university study under your belt. You have to be a sophomore or older. I write every year and tell the students whiners need not apply because there's a lot of independence that's involved in this particular program. You're going to be working every day and gaining practical work experience in a work situation. And you can use that experience to put on a resume when you apply for a job later on. You're going to be alone a lot too, especially during the latter 2 months during your internship phase. So it's going to be important on you to take an active role. You'll want to overcome shyness, to meet people, to communicate what your needs are, and to solve a lot of problems on your own. For example, you're going to find your own housing for the 2-month internship phase. These are our dates for the summer of 2022. Generally, the group, you fly separately over. It tends to be the week or the week after College of Charleston graduation. Then you move in with your host family on May 15th. Language school starts on the 16th. 4 weeks of language school will end on June 7th. Then the following Monday, you begin your internship, which will go to August 3rd in 2022. All right, so these are the dates. This is the price, $41.35. So you might be thinking, $41.35, what do I get for that? Well, that includes the month of language training in Berlin. It includes all the materials for the class. It includes your accommodations for that first month in Berlin. Host families give you breakfast. You get 6 credits for German 328. That's going to be the transfer credit for the language course in Berlin. The course is Monday through Friday. I believe it's from about 10 in the morning till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, your accommodations, breakfast, the cultural vistas fees that they charge to actually place you in an internship in your field. They take care of your work authorization that the German government requires. And it includes the Office of International Education and Programs, also known as the Center of International Education, their fees, and it also covers my expenses to visit you during the the first 1 or 2 weeks of your internship phase. All right, so the coursework, again, 6 credits for German 328 included with the program fee. If you so choose, you can take an additional course with me called Special Assignment Abroad that has the number German 320. This is not included in the program fee, but might be something you would need to take in terms of scholarships. Some scholarships require that you have a course registered specifically with the College of Charleston. German 320, yeah, just don't want to talk a lot about the course, but essentially you'll check in with me once a week. We'll do weekly reports where I'll have questions for about your internship placement, the work climate. You'll write about a person you met at work, a person you met outside of work, and a vocabulary list of new vocabulary that you've learned. So it's pretty easy, those 3 credits. All right, why you should do the program, and then I'm going to shut up and let my colleagues who did the program in the past chime in. You're going to get lots of upper level CofC credit for German in a hurry. In fact, with 9 credits, you're getting half a minor in German. The internship counts also if you're an international studies, or I'm sorry, an international business major. This will cover their requirement for study abroad. The scholarships, which I'll talk about in a minute, from the international business side, basically you apply and you get it. That's how much money they have. Normally I get a call from my colleagues in international business and they say, well, who are your interns in Germany this summer? We have money to give them. Obviously, you're going to improve your German tremendously by being contributing to a workplace situation and speaking German every day. Obviously, you'll be familiar with another culture. You'll make new friends because you'll have to. And this leads to internationalization, which is our goal. It looks great on a resume. South Carolina being the epicenter of German business in the United States. All things considered, you'll have the leg up because you'll have that language and international perspective. So these are some of the placements that students had throughout the years. The 2 that I saw who were present are Alexei Gorman and Jeff McCatron, who is he did this program a long, long time ago. I want them to answer any questions that you guys have for them, but tell the others about, the language school, how you grew personally, how you grew professionally, talk about your internship placement, and all the good and the bad and the ugly. So, Alexei, you there?
Yeah, I can start off. Also, Caitlin's on this call as well. She
Oh,
was
Caitlin. Hey,
my year.
Caitlin. Super.
Hey guys.
Hey, Caitlin. So Caitlin was with us in 2019 and Alexi also in 2019. So yeah, let's start with the application phase. So in other words, you went to this program, let's say in September of 2019, and what went through your head and what prompted you to apply?
Well, I can start off. For me, obviously the getting a lot of German credits in at once is really helpful. It made once I came back, it made getting the German minor very easy and just efficient. And I also was an international business major with a minor in German, or excuse me, minor in global logistics and transportation in addition to German. So it was nice to knock out a lot of those kind of German credits right from the get go. And additionally, I knew I wanted to study abroad. I mean, I had to with international business, but this kind of gave me a different, maybe a different experience than the traditional study abroad. You really, I wanted to kind of get the real, working and living abroad kind of experience. That's what really drew me to the program.
Great. Caitlin, anything to add?
Sorry, I'm simultaneously working at the same time.
Oh, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Of course. So I was a communications major and a German minor. And just the fact that this knocked out half of my minor was a huge proponent as to why I decided to do this. It is an experience that I still talk about. I can't believe it's been like 3 years since.
Amazing.
Great memories. I still communicate with the people that I met during my time abroad. Even my host mom, like her and I had a very special bond, but it's an experience that you're never going to forget. And it's like the one thing out of college that I will truly, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, that I will like never forget. I talk about this experience so much. I think that the people around me are like, shut up, stop talking about this. But if you can do it, I would 1000% do it. And like, I wouldn't necessarily worry about the financial aspect of it as much because there are so many resources that you can obtain. I pretty much got my whole thing paid for. Like I really only paid for like the fun aspects of it. So I would definitely recommend, if anyone has questions, feel free to ask me. I'm more than willing to answer any.
Terrific. Thanks, Caitlin. So yeah, the first phase of the program obviously is the language training in Berlin. So I'm going to ask Jeff or Alexi or Caitlin to speak to that part. What was good? What was bad? How was Berlin?
Well, Berlin is the greatest city on earth. First off, second part, the one thing that I always took away from Harry's classes was the first day. He always talked about, the best way you could learn German is we all get on a flight, we fly to Frankfurt for the weekend, and then we come back. You'll have more experience than I could give you in this class for this semester. And that's what you get. I thought it was funny. We walked into class and my instructor didn't speak English. So that took away any possibility of having any kind of conversation outside of German. In fact, I even had to ask what do you say when someone sneezes? But I had to ask it in German. And she just kind of looked at me and she said, Gesundheit. And I was like, yeah, of course, that makes sense. But then you leave class and you're still speaking German. So I went with another CofC student and he and I would go wander around Berlin for the afternoon, go have lunch. And so everything is in German. My Hausfrau didn't speak English, so everything at home was German. So it's just that full immersion, and you go from kind of somewhat confident to full confidence and really being in it and speaking it. It's a game changer, no question.
Yeah, I can certainly echo that. One thing too I want to point out is the Karl Duisburg, which is the language school. They're wonderful, and they first day you walk in, they give you a very kind of quick oral test just to see kind of where you are, and then they place you in a class. And for me personally, I got placed in a class that was a little bit too advanced for me, but I just went to the headmistress of the school and said, hey, obviously in German, I was like, this is a little bit, out of my league. And then I got moved down into a class that was a lot more appropriate for my skills, and I really flourished. And another thing too, kind of what Jeff was saying is, you're learning German in German, which sounds weird, but it's a really great way to kind of improve your German. And also a lot of other people in the class will be, from all over the world. So everyone kind of is a foreigner trying to study German in German. So you really get close to the people in your class. And again, like what Jeff said, is you're so immersed in German. At CofC, we have your German class, and only a handful of times a week, and then you're out with your friends speaking English. But when you're in Germany, you go and you go to a beer garden or a restaurant and you're speaking German. And my host mother as well, she only spoke German and a little bit of French. So I took French in high school, so it was mainly communication in German. And at first it was kind of scary, but by the end of it, a week or so in, we'd sit in the balcony and drink wine and converse in German.
Oh, I will also say something as well.
Yeah, please.
You start to think in German, and that's when you know you made it. Because when you're in Germany, the first, I would say, week is very tiring because you're hearing German everywhere you are. Like when you're on the S-Bahn or the U-Bahn, you're just hearing things in German. You're hearing conversations in German. Of course, you can ask anyone something, like you can ask a question to any German on the street and they are all willing to help you, and they will also probably respond to you in English. But you start to think in German and like you get into the swing of things. So this experience will totally enhance your German just by being there. And the school itself is also really cool because you are immersed with a bunch of other students from like all over the world, and your common language is German. So you guys are not speaking anything but German together. Can be a bit difficult, but it's also like the most unique experience. So yeah.
Thank you. Great. Okay, so the probably the most exciting and maybe frustrating part of the summer experience is the 2-month internship. So I want you to tell me about how your internship came about with Cultural Vistas, and then tell me about the process of finding your own housing and what your living situation was like during the latter 2 months of the summer program. Alexi, you want to start?
Yeah, I can go first. So my internship was with Signal Iduna. They're an insurance and wealth management company in Germany. And I was based in a smaller field office in a little town called Halle, which is outside of Leipzig, Germany. So I lived in Leipzig and just commuted out to Halle, which maybe another little piece of advice I'd say if you do get placed, I'd say do a bit of research in the city that you're placed in. And Halle was a cool little city, but I was right next to Leipzig, which was much bigger. And it was only a maybe 45-minute train ride. And I was so glad I lived in Leipzig because it was just a bigger city, kind of had more going on, and it was an easy commute. Yeah. Oh, another thing too, and Herdy has probably said this before to you guys, but don't worry if it's taking a while to get your internship. I didn't get mine until I think the day or two before I left for Germany. But ended up working out great. And I had a really cool experience with the people. I was in a small office. It was me and 3 other people, and we all got to know each other quite well. And I got to experience a lot of I did a lot of like kind of office intern work, but to do that in German and I'd go out and visit clients with my bosses, and just to kind of learn a little bit about business, but also to do it in German was really awesome. So,
and Alexei, what was your living situation?
So I lived in so I lived in an apartment building called Base Camp, which it's I always say it's kind of a cross between maybe like a place like Sky Garden and like the dorms, which was nice because I was around. It was a community with a lot of other students, mainly who were studying at the Universität Leipzig. And so it was cool. I was around other people my age from all over the world. And if any of you do get placed in Leipzig, I would strongly recommend living at Base Camp because, you're around, other people. I knew a kid from Iran, a girl from Canada, people from Ireland. And I got to do some kind of cool things on the side. We went to a lake and we'd go out on the weekends together. So it was a lot of fun. Anything else you'd like me to elaborate on, or any questions?
Yeah, no, that's good. Jeff, where did you live?
Yeah, so I got placed in Cologne. Similar to Alexi's story, my internship actually took even longer. It wasn't until about halfway through the language school that I got my placement, which got to be a little nerve-wracking towards the end, but it all worked out in a good way. And again, similarly, I had a very similar living situation. It was somewhat kind of dorm style. I had my own room with a bed, closet, desk, sink, and then bathrooms down the street or down the hall. But yeah, again, similar situation where it was a lot of either young professionals, students, other people on internships. Also happened to be during Euro Cup, so there was a TV room where everybody would watch Euro Cup games, which was just amazing. A nice way to meet people that wouldn't have normally. That piece that Herdy showed on the slide of you're going to be on your own and you have to kind of be okay with that is very true. It's lonely at first, especially, at least I found it to be, especially after having such a great experience in Berlin, that leaving that kind of comfortable nest of having your whole class together and hanging out to going out on your own is tricky. But the one person that I did the internship with, we kind of met up every weekend somewhere, whether it was he came to visit me, I went to go visit him, we went to Rome, we went to Prague, we just did different things together and continued to travel around and meet different people. And I would say that's one thing that I wish I would have done, is I wish I would have stayed in Cologne a couple more weekends to experience a little more. But I pretty much had all day, every day after work to walk around and see people and see things. So my placement was at an Audi, VW, and Porsche dealership. I was always into cars, and so that was a pretty great placement for me. Worked in all aspects, similarly doing very intern-like things of filing and things like that, but I actually got to work in the body shop at one point. Got a whole Arbeitsanzug and all. It was a pretty good experience. The boss of the dealership was very open and said, this is your internship. You tell me what you want to be doing. Which I thought was pretty great.
Cool. Yeah. Caitlin, I think, is busy, but she had less than an ideal living situation in Offenbach, I think.
I can speak on that. I'm simultaneously working, but I'm not speaking to clients currently, so it's
okay.
fine.
All right.
So I was placed in Frankfurt, and I actually was very lucky because I got my placement in March. So I knew before I even left for Germany what my internship was. And I also was even luckier because 2 other Americans from the program were also placed with me. So I wasn't alone like everyone else. So we were all placed at a very small startup. It's called Panalis Solutions, and they're a political database. So we were coordinating with high up members in the EU, trying to get them to use our service. And I was just a marketing intern, so I had to do cold calling in German sometimes. That was terrifying. And for the most part, though, it was really awesome because my managers or the owners of the company, they were super great. On 4th of July, I was depressed because that was my favorite. It's my favorite holiday, and they took us to an American restaurant because they were like, "Oh, we know that you're sad today, so we're going to take you to an American place in Frankfurt," and it was really nice. And as far as my living situation, because I knew so far in advance, I booked an Airbnb. I thought I did research, but I didn't do enough, apparently. So definitely do your research. Like what Alexi had said, make sure you know the area. Frankfurt is different. It's very expensive in this city. So I was trying to look elsewhere, and I was trying to coordinate based off of where my internship was. and Offenbach was like 10 minutes away from my internship. Map wise, I thought it looked great. And then I got there and it was not the best living situation. I lived with a Turkish male and a French female, and the living situation was just disgusting. But that experience, if I did not have that, I would not have branched out nearly as much. So although it was disgusting, I would not have like explored the city nearly as much because I would have just been comfortable in staying in my apartment. But because I hated it so much, it forced me to step out, and I had the best summer because of that little apartment in Offenbach.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, last thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to bring it back to the interns again, is like they were saying before, there are so many scholarship opportunities from numerous sources. The Center of International Education has a bunch of scholarships. Our School of Languages, Cultures, and World Affairs, if you're a major or a minor in German, funds are available there. You have to apply for them, of course. Cultural Vistas also offers some scholarships. And no matter what department your major is at CofC, chances are that they have scholarships specifically for study abroad. So don't let money be an aspect. One student about 12 years ago said advice that she gave was break up with your boyfriend if you need to. That she was so glad there was high drama, but she's glad that she did it. So she was able to go to Germany, and it changed her life and changed the trajectory of her career. Okay, so I would like to open up the floor now to questions to the former interns or to myself. Actually, before we do that, one last thing, and most importantly, the next step, if you're interested in applying for the program, you need to do two things. Yeah. Stephanie Clark is my colleague who is on this call, and she introduce yourself, Stephanie. Are you able to put your camera on?
No, of course. Sorry,
Yeah, that's okay.
My name is Stephanie Clark. I work at the Center for International Education here at the College of Charleston. I work directly with the faculty-led programs. So if you're having concerns with the VIA TRM system, or if within the academic works, which is how you're going to apply for any scholarship here at the College of Charleston, you can contact us and we'll be able to assist.
Great. So yeah, you want to get with them because nothing happens without them. And then the second thing you want to do is fill out the application for Cultural Vistas. That's our partner organization that finds you and places you in the internship. The application is not due until December 1st, so there's a little bit of time. Cultural Vistas is super helpful in answering your questions about the application. I'm going to do a German resume writing workshop in early November to support your application that's due December 1st. Then what will happen is in January, you will get a phone interview with Cultural Vistas. It might be slightly after Christmas or early January. They just want to get to an idea of what type of internship you are interested in. They will speak with you in German very briefly just to get a ballpark estimate about where to place you in the language school when you go to Berlin in May. And then, yeah, they start looking for internships for you. You have right of refusal. You say yay or nay, and then you'll settle in on something. Is that accurate, Alexi, Caitlin, Jeff? The process, more or less? Yeah. Then before you leave, they will, I think we're going to have probably 10 applicants or more. They will come to Charleston and do a pre-departure orientation with you here on our campus. That's going to be like the very end of the semester, of the spring semester. And then you can ask them questions as well. My visit, I get on the ground and visit you in Germany, usually the first or second week of your internship, because that's precisely the time when you're going to be away from all the good times from the other CofC people in Berlin. and you're going to be by yourself and starting a new job. So that's where I want to sort of, be a friendly ear to listen, maybe help with any problems, which there honestly rarely are. So, okay, I'm going to shut up now, I promise. So, what questions do my students have?
Okay, I have a question about the first few weeks that you're there with the training. So what was your like daily schedule or even weekly schedule if you can't remember the daily? Like how often and how long and how much work and stuff like that?
I can kick it off, or unless Caitlin, do you want to go?
No,
Go ahead.
Alexi, you can go. It's fine.
Okay. So kind of daily schedule, at least with my host mom, kind of wake up, have breakfast, and then take the U-Bahn to class. Class is, I want to say like 9, 10 o'clock through like early afternoon, with a few breaks in between. And then after you get out of class, you're, as we said, you're pretty much free to roam about the city. So usually we'd go, we'd go get lunch. We'd go Berlin's a huge city and there's so many attractions to go see. And it's nice because you're there for, almost a month so you get to see a lot of Berlin. By the end of it, I didn't see everything, but I felt like after 4 weeks of being a tourist in the city, I got to see most of it, which is pretty awesome. There's a lot of cool things to do in Berlin. Weekends, I try to travel as much as I could. I have family, it lives in Munich. So I went down there a number of times throughout the summer. But I, traveled with actually the person who was my roommate at the time. We did a couple trips. We went to Prague. We went to Switzerland. Trying to think, basically, we traveled and stuff. So it's kind of, and it varies from person to person or what you want to do, but it's kind of roughly what it looks like.
Caitlin, did you see the question in the chat?
What made the living situation so bad, and what would you do differently for future reference? So what made the living situation bad was just like the cleanliness of the place. On Airbnb, it was marketed as if it was this beautiful, like luxurious apartment with a balcony. I get there and my landlord wasn't there, like he was out of town. So I had to get my roommate, that was a girl, to come get me from downstairs. And she was very mad that she had to get me. So it was already like a terrible situation from the start. My room was not the picture whatsoever. It was just disgusting because the pictures were not the same. And I think it's just because it was more of like a long-term Airbnb stay that the people that were staying there were making it disgusting. It wasn't, I think, the apartment itself. So it was just not the best, but I wouldn't actually do that entire situation differently because I wouldn't have had such an amazing summer because of it. Mind you, that first day when I got to my apartment, I cried the entire day and I contacted Airbnb and was like, please get me something else. But then I just realized like it doesn't matter. You're going to be working all day. So, and that really was the case. When you're at your internship, you're working just like a regular 9 to 5. And then afterwards you're free to do whatever you want. And I just chose to never go back home. So I just chose to do anything else. And I just traveled and had a great time outside of my apartment and just stayed there for sleeping. So I wouldn't have changed it, even though it was gross. I just made the most of the situation. So I would just say a good tip is try to read reviews and maybe see if there's additional photos that they can send you that are updated, because that's probably what I should have done in that scenario, just to see like further back the information or the pictures that they had.
I think to add on to Caitlin's point, like there's a lot of stuff like, I wouldn't say this is the easiest thing I've ever done. It's probably one of the hardest things I've done, but it's certainly one of the best things I've done in my life. And there are going to be hardships, and there's going to be, whether it's difficulty trying to find, get a train ticket, or, a less than ideal living situation. Like, it may seem like it sucks, but all in all, it's those experiences that make this program really wonderful. And, I had a decent living situation, but I certainly had difficulties in other areas, but it was all worth it. And I think, like Caitlin said, it's, it may sound like it sucks, but you just kind of make the best of it, and you really grow from it.
Cool, thanks. All right, so we've got another question in chat. How specific do you recommend we be when applying for the internship and or going through the internship selection process? Is it better to be more open or have a particular goal in mind?
I think it goes twofold, because if you're lucky to get something, honestly, like there are a bunch of different options, but I know how difficult it can still be to place people. So I would say in your application, you can state that you would really like these specific fields, but I wouldn't knock the other options just because it wasn't exactly what you were looking for, because the experience itself is going to outweigh that specific internship more than anything else. Because like what I did, I was working for a political database. I did not choose that at all. My title was marketing communications, but I wouldn't have chosen that specific company, but I did not care because I was just thankful that I even got a placement as quick as I did. So I would say you should be a little bit specific just to like help them try to place you. But if you don't get exactly what you want, I wouldn't just revoke your application because you didn't, because honestly, you're there for the experience, not necessarily that job, if that makes sense.
I can also echo what Caitlin's saying. I mean, I worked for an insurance and wealth management firm, and now I'm an international logistics analyst. So the internship itself, like the work I was doing, the intern work wasn't necessarily, it was interesting to learn about insurance in Germany and how that works, but it didn't exactly move my business career along. But I don't really think that's necessarily the point so much of this program. I mean, if you wanted to just get an internship that would further along your career in whatever field you're in, I think you could do that in America. And but this is really about the whole experience of being in Germany and being, as you said, completely immersed in it. So again, I would say don't worry too much about where specifically you're working, what company you're working at, but just really look at it as the whole experience.
I'll give an extra thumbs up to that one. It doesn't necessarily matter what you do. I mean, I think I got lucky that I got placed into at least somewhat the field I wanted to be in automotive. But I say that now working for one of the largest bike distributing companies in the US now. So it's not necessarily that it took me in the right direction, but it definitely, I mean, after I came back, I finished my degree, and then I moved back to Berlin for 3 years. So it's one of those things where it absolutely changes your perspective, and it can change the direction that you go in the future.
I have a question that kind of relates to that. Like, are you less likely to be accepted or placed if you want something kind of like specific, and they don't have that, I guess? I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, I'll take that one. And because this coming year looks like it's going to be a little bit more competitive than most years. In most years, I would say 90% plus of our students who applied got accepted. And then for some reason in 2019, it was about 70%. And there were a few who applied and didn't get in. That's completely up to the discretion of Cultural Vistas, who they will accept or not accept into the program. It could be a matter of GPA, it could be a matter of indecisiveness, it could be a matter of a bad interview, it could be a matter of them needing things and the student wasn't coming through with the paperwork that they needed. you have a better chance than not of being accepted into the program though. I mean, it's definitely, I mean, absolutely. I think like 70% is the lowest. And I was actually kind of shocked that they did reject a few applications. But yeah, basic eligibility, you have to have 4 semesters of college under your belt. They've changed that recently. The other thing is that we require you to have 4 semesters of German to go, just so that, you know, you're not totally lost and, you know, can't communicate once you're there. Okay, looks like we don't have any additional questions. I hope that we answered the questions that you did have. So again, friendly reminder, you'll want to get with the Center of International Education. The PowerPoint I'm going to get to you in some form. I can look and see who is on this Zoom and then make sure it gets emailed to you, or I don't know, I'll figure it out. I'll put it on Google Docs or something. Yeah, so I want to give again a sincere thanks to Alexi, Jeff, and Caitlin, who have become very dear friends of mine, I have to say, throughout the years. And yeah. Stephanie, do you have anything you want to add?
So just a real quick thing with via TRM. When you are on the CIE website and you see view more here, if it does say request to apply, you just need to log into via TRM. The application is live, and you are able, once you create the via TRM your via TRM account, you are able to search through programs. But for this particular program, the actual code, so when you're at the very top of your web address, it'll say CofC via TRM, and then it'll go Traveler, and then it'll say Programs. If you type in 10494, you will be directed straight to the via TRM page for this program. And that way you would not have to search, just to make it a little bit easier for you.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Oh, and of course, equally as important is the Cultural Vistas application, and you've got the link there. But yeah, if you go to culturalvistas.org, put in College of Charleston, it'll come right up.
And we'll have that also on the via TRM website. And also when you apply, we'll have that reminder as well.
And of course, I'm here to address any questions, issues, problems you have. Stop by the office at JC Long 422 or shoot me an email, and I'll go over whatever I can. Yeah. All right, everybody. Cheers. Great to see you guys. So long.
Cheers.